Shalom, shalom, shalom. All praise to Yahweh Hashem, Mashiach Yahushai, Kwam Yesh'Allah. Hallelujah. This is the Mashiach Allah, the Hebrew chosen elect. And we're going to go over reading concerning Purim. We're nearing the days of Purim, which we know comes the 12th month, 14th and 15th day of the month. And as always, Mosai teach us to rehearse his righteous acts. But before that, I just want to say, all praises to the Mosai, Yahweh Hashem, Yahushai, and to the 12 tribes scattered abroad, Shalom, Shalom, to all the Israelite camps and all the Israelite schools, Shalom, Shalom, to the Most High's high holy day, the Sabbath. And also, we're going to be bringing out scriptures concerning Purim, which is coming up in a few days. The Most High teach us in Get Judges 5:11 up. The Most High teach us to always rehearse his righteous acts. So that's what we're supposed to do as a nation, even though we're dispersed and scattered throughout the earth in our captivities. We're supposed to rehearse his righteous acts, do the things that's required of righteousness to the best of our ability while we are dispersed. And Yahushua teaches us, he looks down upon us to see what we are going to do. Well, we're the Hebrews, so we're supposed to be an example of righteousness in keeping his law, statutes, and commandments. An example of righteousness, keeping his dietary law. An example of righteousness, keeping his moral laws. An example of righteousness, keeping his neighborly laws. So an example of righteousness and participating in his high holy days when they come. Okay, so we know we don't do it fully correct the way it's supposed to be done, like we did in ancient Israel in Mount Zion. Okay, but still we can recognize the days that it come and have a holy convocation and congregate and praise the Most High for the high holy days. Cool. And that's what we're supposed to be doing. Okay, so we're supposed to be an example of the gospel of truth in Mashiach Yahushua. Okay, because we are his chosen people, his elect. Okay, come? And that's what we're supposed to be doing to the best of our ability. Because now we're in the last days now. So the Most High is requiring us. He said, to whom much is given, much is required. So it's required of us. Why? Because the earth is going to be given to us. He said, to whom much is given, where the whole earth is given to the nation of Israel. Cool. And it's going to be given to us. So it is required of us to do the right thing, to stand up for righteousness and be upright, okay, and be forgiving of one another, bear one another's burdens, and to love one another, and to show not only our own people be an example of the commandments, the laws and statutes, but the whole earth, the other nations. We're supposed to be an example to the other nations. That's why the scriptures teach you the nations waited for the manifestation of the sons of men. They wait for us to do the right thing. But we are running backwards. We're not trying to do the right thing. And so therefore, the nations, they got to wait longer because the earth is given to our hands. It's given to us as a people. Okay, so the nations have to wait until we get in order. And we're not trying to get in order, and that's the problem. We're running away from it. So the Most High teaches, put on the new man. Okay? Okay? How can you put old wine in new bottles? Okay? You can't do it. So you got to shake off the old way, the sinful man, and shake it off and acquire the new man, acquire that new spirit, what is right. And it's up to you to do it. Okay? The Most High is waiting for you. That's why the Most High said, I'm going to go back to my throne until they acknowledge their offense. Cool. So when are we going to start acknowledging our offenses? When are we going to start doing that? See, so it's high time for us to do that. Okay, read that out. Tell them where you at.
Judges chapter 5, verse 11. They that are delivered from the noise of the archers in the places of drawing waters, there shall they reach Salaki. There shall they rehearse the righteous acts of the Lord, even the righteous acts towards the inhabitants of the villages.
Right. So the Most High is teaching us in the place of drawing water. See? In the place of our labor. That's what drawing water means, of our great labor. Okay? And from the place where we're going to, the place of the noise of the archers, meaning when the Most High bring the destruction upon America. And we're going to be delivered from that. Meaning the noise of archers, meaning when the Most High unleash his meteorites on America. Okay? And they start to drop. And that noise, we're going to be delivered from that. Because when those meteorites drop on America, it's like nuclear bombs dropping. And I know everybody thinks it's going to be nuclear bombs. Okay, the Most High is going to have the nuclear bombs erupt also. Okay, because Esau got nuclear bombs on satellites, okay, above the earth, and he got nuclear bombs in silos underneath the earth. Well, the scriptures teach you the Most High is going to use all that to destroy America. And also the Most High is going to have his asteroids and his meteorites drop on America. So when all that's dropped on America, the noise of archers, see, that noise, the remnant of Israel is going to be delivered from that. So those that are delivered from the noise of archers, okay, there, see, it said there, they're going to rehearse the righteous acts. So we rehearse the righteous acts. That means you rehearse the commandments. You rehearse the Sabbath day. It's a day of rest. You're supposed to rehearse it. Okay? So when the Sabbath day comes, you should read the scriptures and what the scriptures teach you and how the Most High gives an example of what we're supposed to do on the Sabbath. You rehearse that. See? You don't do no labor on the Sabbath. No buying and selling on the Sabbath. No hard labor, rigorous work on the Sabbath. Well, rehearse it. But some of you say, well, I got to work on the Sabbath, I got to do this on the Sabbath, but Yahushua covered you on that. Where you had to work on the Sabbath or do certain things on the Sabbath. You're covered. That's what the grace in Yahushua is all about. You're covered. But where you don't have to go shopping on the Sabbath, where you don't have to cook or whatever on the Sabbath, and do hard labor or whatever on the Sabbath, see, then you're supposed to adhere to what the Sabbath teaches us. This is what the Most High is saying. The Most High knows what you can do and what you can't do. And a lot of you could come to the class on the Sabbath, and you can sit through the class, a 2-hour-long class on the Sabbath. Because you're going to be sitting at home doing nothing. So you can do that on the Sabbath. The Most High knows you can do it. But some of you make excuses because of your lust. You want to consume it upon your lust. You want to consume your carnalism upon your own lust. You want to do it, so you make excuses so you can go out there and sin. And that's the problem with Israel. Understand? We make excuses to not come together. We make excuses not to come together in unity. Too many excuses, man. And that's the problem. Too many excuses. So we got to stop with all these excuses. The Most High know what we can do. Okay? Go ahead, Ak. Was that it on that?
Then shall the people of the Lord go down to the gates.
Right. So then shall the people go down into the gates. Meaning when the Most High delivers out of our captivities, we're going to begin. That's why it says rehearse. Because in rehearsing, you become made perfect. Why does somebody rehearse to try to become an NBA athlete or an Olympic athlete or NFL, baseball, or a doctor or a lawyer, and they practice their craft, right? You practice your craft. So what is our craft as far as Hebrew Israelites? The laws and statutes and commandments of the Most High. We're supposed to practice it. That's our craft. See, rehearse the righteous acts.
Practice what you teach.
Huh?
Practice what you teach.
Practice what you teach, right. Okay? And so that's what we're supposed to be doing. You can't, look, the culture of the Chinese nation, they practice their culture and participate and practice in their culture. Same thing the Japanese, the Arabs, they practice whatever their culture is, right? And they practice it. And they are made perfect in whatever their culture is. So we got to do the same thing. And don't tell me America is your culture, because America is not your culture. The Western civilization is not our people's culture.
Come.
Okay? Homosexuality is not your culture.
Come.
Okay? So get that out of your mind.
Come.
Religion is not your culture either.
Come.
Christianity is not your culture. Being a Democrat is not your culture, or
Come.
Republican is not your culture.
Come.
Being a Hollywood actor is not your culture. How about that? I got news for you. Even being the way these rap stars are today, that's not your culture.
Come.
That old gay agenda and getting these rappers to do gay things to try to demoralize the black man. Okay, that's not your culture. Them trying to get the black woman, the lesbianistic society mentality, going against her husband, going against her man, that's not your culture.
Come.
Women wearing pants and women thinking they can be independent from their man, that's not our people's culture.
Come.
Okay? Women trying to acquire the masculine vibration of a man, that's not your culture. Everything is backwards, everything is upside down. And so this is the problem. And so we got to now come from amongst that. Okay? And what the Most High is teaching us? Okay? What is our culture? Okay? That's what we got to find out. So now, when you go into the book of Esther, the 9th chapter, and the 1st verse, okay, we're going to read about Purim, which is part of our culture. Come. It's part of our laws, statutes, and commandments. Our high holy days. Okay? So Purim. Now Purim is this. Okay? When you in the Hebrew, Purim is Pawarayim. There it is here. Okay? So of course in Hebrew you read, see if this is Yakanan, if they can see it.
Yeah, they can see it. I can see it from here.
Yeah. That's Purim. See, Pawarayim. That's Purim. And it means to cast lots. Come? That's it in Hebrew.
Come.
Pawarayim. Okay? But of course, in the English it's Purim. But that's the Hebrew. So again, we are the Hebrews, correct? So this is why the Most High said, you are he told Abraham, you are Hebrew. Abraham the Hebrew.
Come.
Okay, so we are the real Hebrews. Your language is synonymous with your nationality. So again, don't let nobody tell you that not to learn your Hebrew. You hear that from some camps. They may say that, right? No, Hebrew is everything. Because that's part of who you are. You're not going to tell an Arab that he can't speak his language as Arabic, right? Because it's synonymous with his nationality. So the same thing here. We're the Hebrews, so learn at least the basics of your of your language and your nationality. At least learn that. Okay? And yes, the Most High is going to return to us our language, our pure language. But it starts, but you start. Just like you're not going to just wait to try to start keeping the commandments, are you? Because we're not delivered yet. We're not saved yet, right? So what, you're just going to wait now? You're just going to keep on sinning, and you're going to wait to keep the commandments. No, you start now. The same thing with your language. You start now. Start learning it now. Start learning your culture, your custom, your language, your nationality now. You start now. Okay? So go ahead. Let's show them this right quick. 2 Corinthians 6:1. I just want to show them that. Because the Most High says start now. Now's the time of your salvation. Right? So now's your prayers heard now, right? Now the time of your salvation. He said salvation is not with observation. Come? It's not with observation. Salvation is what? Your kingdom, or the kingdom is not without observation. So your salvation, don't look for it. Begin to be an example of it. So that's why the scripture says Israel, this kingdom of heaven suffered violence. Because why? You are the kingdom of heaven. See? This is what the Most High is saying. You are the kingdom of heaven. So that's why it suffered violence. So that means the kingdom of heaven if it's not something that we are looking to observe, so then where is it? Scripture says it's within you. So again, you have to be an example of these laws and statutes and commandments. Okay? Because you have to be, your temple, your spirit have to be an example of these commandments. Okay? Go ahead, I'll read that. Tell me that. 2 Corinthians 6:1.
2 Corinthians chapter 6, verse 1. When then, as workers together with him, beseech you also that ye receive not the grace of Yahweh in vain.
Don't receive the grace in vain. See? So are we all in the grace? This is what Yahweh died for the nation of Israel for. Give us grace. Because you wouldn't have it unless Yahweh did that. You wouldn't have it. So this is why our people out here, they doing what they want to do. They sinning all over the place, not respecting the Most High's commandments, high holy days. They're doing what they want to do. They're following their enemies in wickedness and evil. So don't take the grace in vain. Because everybody is given only a measure of grace. And some people's measurement of grace is up very quickly. That's why you see a lot of our people being shot dead in the streets. They catch diseases. They catch ailments. They catch all kinds of afflictions and tribulations real quick. Because why? The measure of their grace is up. That's it. When the Most High says that's it, it's it. But then some of our people, the Most High give more grace. Okay? And this is because the Most High said He's going to have compassion on whom He want to have compassion. Okay, go ahead, up.
For he said, I have heard thee in a time acceptable.
See, the Most High heard your prayers in a time acceptable to Him. That means the Most High hears all our prayers, but when the Most High want to answer your prayers, then He answers your prayers.
Couldn't.
He doesn't answer your prayers when you want to answer it. He answers it when He gets ready to. But He does hear your prayers. And some of our prayers, the Most High says, are an abomination to Him.
Couldn't.
Okay? Especially those who are doing evil. He said, even their prayer is an abomination.
Couldn't.
So you may pray, but the Most High listens. In other words, He turns His ear, He hears it, but He's going to turn away from it. That's what He means. Okay? Because the Most High hear everything, right? So I mean, He turns His ear away. So that means when you pray, and in the name of Hamashiach Yahweh, look at your prayer and take your prayer. Only Yahweh can take your prayer to the throne of the Most High. Only Yahweh can do it. And if Yahweh decide not to take your prayer out of your evil and wickedness, then the Most High was not even going to even deal with it. The Most High will only hear the prayer that Yahweh brings. And it's acceptable. It has to be acceptable to Yahweh first. Because you can do nothing without Yahweh. Come? Nothing. It has to be acceptable to Hamashiach Yahweh. Then Yahweh bring it to the Most High. And then the Most High will consider whether He want to deal with it or not. But if Yahweh don't bring your prayer to the Most High, it's not going to happen. Okay? So that's why the Scripture says, be unspotted in the world. See? So return back to the Most High. The Scripture says, return back to the Most High, and then I'll return back to you. Okay? And part of it is your prayer to the Most High. So go ahead, Op.
And in the days of salvation have I secured thee.
So read from the beginning. 2. Start from 2, right?
Yeah. For he said, I have heard thee in the time of acceptance. And in the days of salvation have I secured thee.
See, in the day of salvation have I secured you. So the day of salvation, the Most High will secure you. So in our trials and tribulation and what we're going through, and the Most High said He will not tempt you above that which you are able to deal with.
Couldn't.
Okay? So in the temptation that you're in, the Most High is able to bring you out of it. And there's no temptation that you're in that the common man hasn't been through.
Couldn't.
So don't sit there and say, oh, no, how come I'm the only one going through this? You're not. Okay? Some of us, you haven't even been through what some of you read what the disciples went through. Read what some of the prophets went through. Okay? So you haven't been through what common man, no common man has been through. All right? So, but in the day of salvation, then your prayer is heard. That's why it says, be constant in prayer. Because when it comes time for the Most High to deliver you from a certain circumstance, a situation, or a problem, or tribulation, then the Most High said, in that day of salvation, then I heard your prayer. For all those times you prayed, now I'm going to deliver you from it. Okay? So that's why it's important. So also, the Most High is saying, be instant in prayer.
Good.
Because He's going to deliver you from your problems, your situation. So the same thing with Israel as a whole. Okay? That's why now it's high time for us to come together in unity. And that's what Purim is about. Okay, but we're going to read. Go ahead, I just finished that.
Behold, now is the accepted time.
Now is what?
Accepted time.
Now! Go ahead, is what?
Now is the accepted time.
Now is the accepted. What, tomorrow? Say it, no, say it. Now, tomorrow, or is it now?
Now.
Now. See? Next week?
Now.
See? You know what I'm saying? So now, a month from now?
Now.
Now is the accepted time. See, that's how you're supposed to look at it. The Most High said now is acceptable. See, some of us are saying, well, we don't know when Yahweh Shah is coming to deliver us, so I'm going to just do what I want to do out there. No, the Most High said now is the time you start.
That's right.
So don't wait. Now is the time that you start to return back to the Most High. Okay? Now is that time. Because you might wait, and next thing you know, here comes Yahweh Shah. Here comes that, you hear that trumpet being blown. And because you're like one of the 10 virgins, and 5 of them were wise and 5 were foolish, you may be one of the 5 foolish. Because you waited to get prepared. See, don't wait to prepare yourself. Okay? This is what the Most High is teaching us in the Yahushua and teaching the whole nation this. Okay? The whole nation. Whether you so-called rich Negro, poor Negro, middle-class so-called Negro, okay? Don't matter. He's teaching the whole nation this. Okay, go ahead, Doc.
Behold, now is the day of salvation.
Okay, so behold, see, now is the day of your salvation. Meaning, now is the time that you what? Adhere and recognize that you're a Hebrew Israelite. And then you become the example, keeping the law, statute, commandments to the best of your ability. Now is that time. Don't wait. See, don't wait to start praying to the Most High. Don't wait to try to keep the Sabbath day. Don't wait to keep the dietary law. What you waiting on? Don't wait to be neighborly towards your brother. What are you waiting on? Don't wait to be hospitable and caring and loving towards your brother. What are you waiting on? Yahweh Shai said, now is that time. Okay? So that's it. I'll go on to Esther 9 and 1 concerning Purim. Now it says Purim. It says Purim. Okay? So we see what it says in Hebrew, Pawarayim. That is Purim in Hebrew. And Purim basically is this. Then we're going to read some of the history. But it says Purim, to cast lots. That's what it means, right? Feast. The feast commemorated the Jews, okay? The Jews' deliverance from Haman while they were in captivity under the Persian rule. Haman was the so-called Edomite. Okay, now Haman was like the captain of the host of King Hazarius of the Persian Empire. This is around the 5th century BC. Okay, and was promoted in rank under King Hazarius when Mordecai, Queen Esther's uncle, did not bow to him. Because it was said that Haman, who was the captain of the host of King Hazarius, and King Hazarius of the Persian Empire had ruled over 127 provinces. Here in America, you only got 50 states. But The Persian rule had 127 provinces. How about that? Okay, so they ruled even a wider region than even America had.
Come.
Okay, and it says Haman, who was ranked high up in a position, wanted everybody to bow down to him. Okay, everybody's supposed to bow down to Haman, the captain of the host, right? It says Haman sought to destroy all the Jews. Okay, simply for the fact that Mordecai, okay, the uncle of Queen Esther, did not bow to Haman. Okay, but that was the spirit of the Most High. I had the Most High played it out. Okay, Haman had sought to destroy all the Jews by casting Pur. Pur means to cast lots. That's where you get the word Purim from. Cast lots. That is the lot. Mordecai convinced Queen Esther to go before King Ahasuerus to persuade him that Haman is wicked and an enemy of the Jews. Okay, King Ahasuerus had Haman and his sons hanged, and the Jews were delivered from the wicked plot of Haman.
Come.
Okay, so and then therefore you have Purim celebrated on the 14th and 15th day of the 12th month. Okay, but you understand that that plot went throughout the whole 127 provinces. Just like the plot going out, you always bring it up to date, right? So today in America, what's the plot? What's the plot to kill the Israelites? To kill the real Jews, the so-called Negroes?
The solution.
Yeah, solution. The solution was the plot. Y'all know what the solution is. Okay, to kill us off, AIDS, drugs in the community. It's the same plot. Okay, and they had, actually, you know, in the late 1800s, early 1900s, they had the hanging, the literal hanging. Now, Haman had, well, that plot to cast lots was to hang us on the gallows.
Come.
Okay? The gallows were what? Like, going to be like some 50 feet to 100 feet high? And they were going to hang all the Israelites throughout the 127 provinces. Come. Okay? So that's what they were going to do. But we had, and you know we had actual lynching in American society. So this is what Haman was going to do. Okay? But still, the plot continues. But continues in different forms today. It could be poisoning your water. It could be poisoning the food. It could be, like I said, the solution. It could be AIDS. It could be the diseases that you're dying from. That's all part of the plot. The abortion thing was a plot too, right? The eugenics philosophy.
Come.
Okay, Margaret Thatcher.
No, Margaret Sanger.
Oh, I said Margaret Thatcher. Right? Margaret Sanger, right. You're right. Margaret Sanger. Okay? So she had that plot, the same mentality, the same vibration, right, Come? It's the same one. So the plot continues. They want to kill off all the Jews, all the real Israelites and the Hebrews out there. They want to kill us all. So be prepared. Okay, so let's see, Esther 9:1 up.
Esther chapter 9, verse 1.
Bring it out.
Now in the 12th month, that is the month of Adar, on the 13th day of the same, when the king's commandment and his decree drew near to be put in execution, in the day that the enemies of the Jews hoped to have power over them. Thus it was turned to the contrary.
It was thought that it was turned to the contrary. Okay, that the Jews had ruled over them that hated them. Now this is the first verse of the 9th chapter of Esther. So what was the plot? The plot was where Haman wrote a letter to all the leaders of the 127 provinces under when the Persians ruled under King Ahasuerus, and he went to King Ahasuerus first and told some kind of fabricated story that the Jews can't be disciplined, okay, and that they're against the king, and so they got to be killed. And they got to be hung on the gallows. And there was a letter wrote.
Come.
And King Ahasuerus had signed the letter, and he told Haman, gave Haman his ring to stamp the letter, and Haman took that letter and put it everywhere in all 127 provinces. And this to be done, and then he was going to have it done like a year later on the 12th month. They were going to all be hung on the gallows. All our people, all 120, that's like the same thing. If Joe Biden, okay, and the captain underneath Joe Biden, the chief of the military, let's say the Joint Chiefs of Staff, said, look, Joe, there's the people out there, and they're the real Israelites, they're the so-called Negro, West Indian, Haitian, Puerto Rican, throughout all the 50 states, we got to kill them.
Come.
Okay, because they don't listen, they're not disciplined, they want to do what they want to do or whatever. Made up a fabricated lie. And their laws are different from our laws. This is what Haman was saying. Okay? So, of course, our laws are different. We go by the commandment of the Most High. Our laws. Right? That the Most High gave us. So, this is what Haman was saying. And so, let's say if today a letter was put out like that, and in all 50 states, that the so-called Negroes should be hung. And you got them, they want to bring lynching back. You heard that, right? You heard that, right? I forgot what state. Was it Mississippi?
Yeah.
It was Mississippi, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. They voted on bringing lynching back. So who you think they're going to lynch? So-called Negroes. And you know, once one law does it, it goes to the, once one state does it, it goes to the next state, and the next state. Next thing you know, all 50 states are bringing lynching back. So here it goes again, the same vibration. Okay? So this is what is happening. But the Most High, the scripture is teaching us that it went contrary to what Haman wanted. Okay? Because the Most High was in our favor. Okay, go ahead, Al. Second verse.
The Jews gathered themselves together in the cities throughout all the provinces of the kings Ahasuerus to lay hand on such as sought their hurt. And no man could withstand them, for the fear of them fell upon all people.
Right, so now the Most High turned it against Haman. And the Most High had it with Queen Esther, and as you read the story, Queen Esther, she was, her first name was Hadassah, but then she took on the name Esther when she became queen of King Ahasuerus. And the spirit was put on Mordecai, okay? Was put on Mordecai to convince Esther, you got to speak up. You got to say something to the king, because she was, of course, close to him. She was the queen. And Mordecai was only a worker of the king's court. So he couldn't get to the king. But so Mordecai showed Esther what to do in this situation and taught Esther what to do.
Come.
And she ultimately did it. And Esther said, look, I gotta pray to the Most High. She said, look, Mordecai, we got to have a fast. I need you to fast for 3 days. Tell the people in the provinces to fast for 3 days. She fasted for 3 days, and she prayed, okay, and went to the Most High. Before she went to the king to try to convince the king to overthrow this wicked plot of Haman. Okay? Okay, go ahead. I'll read the third verse.
And all the rulers of the provinces and the lieutenants.
And the lieutenants. So it said, and all the rulers of the provinces and the lieutenants and the deputies and the officers of the king helped the Jews, because the fear of Mordecai fell upon them. So Mordecai became a ruler. Okay? He became a ruler. He became a ruler in under King Ahasuerus in Persia. High up. Okay, he was high up. Ultimately, he took over Haman's position.
Good.
And his household and everything. Because we went contrary against Haman, and Haman ended up being hung, which we're going to read. Okay, go ahead, Al. Read that fourth verse.
For Mordecai was great in the king's house, and his fame went out throughout all the provinces. For this man Mordecai waxed greater and greater.
Right. So this is Mordecai, Queen Esther's uncle, who waxed great and great. Because when you read the history of it, Mordecai overheard two of King Ahasuerus, two of his military men that kept the part of the king's duties, and he overheard them plotting to overthrow King Ahasuerus. And so that was the spirit of the Most High too. So Mordecai overheard that. He told Queen Esther to tell King Ahasuerus that these men had a plot to overthrow him. And King Ahasuerus investigated it, and sure enough, it was true. King Ahasuerus had the men hung. Okay? Later on, King Ahasuerus couldn't sleep one night, and he went into his records and seen what Mordecai had did, and Mordecai wasn't rewarded for that. So the Most High had it where King Ahasuerus rewarded Mordecai for alerting him that these two men wanted to plot to overthrow the king.
Good.
So he was rewarded for that. And this is part of his reward, that now he's like second to King Ahasuerus. All right, he was given a high position. All right, go ahead, up. The 5th verse.
Thus the Jews smote all their enemies with the stroke of the sword, and slaughter, and destruction, and did what they would unto those that hated.
Right, see? So here, how about that? Thus the Jews smote all the enemies. See? And that's what we're going to do in these last days.
Good.
In Yahushua, we're going to smote all our enemies, man. I don't care who it is. Your nice white friends or whatever you got, your African friends, the real Hamite, okay? You got some of them, your Arab friends, Chinese, Japanese, the Most High said, he said, smote all the enemies with the stroke of the sword. So that's what we're going to do. The Most High said, you're my battle axe and weapons of war, Israel. So I'm going to have you do it. So don't worry. We're going to get our vengeance upon our enemies real soon. It's coming. Okay, it's coming. And slaughter and destruction, and did what they would unto those that we did what we wanted those that hated them. I'm just going to tell you how many it was. I think it ended up being like 75,000 people. 75,000 people ended up killing. The Most High turned that wicked plot around. Okay.
Good.
Okay, 6th verse, Doc.
And in Shushan, the palace, the Jews slew and destroyed 500 men.
How many Jews slew?
500 men.
So what if the Most High put it on the spirit of us today to go in one of these cities of America to slay 500 people? You see? That's what it was like back then. Come? That's exactly how it was like. Okay? But of course, we waiting on Yahushua for Yahushua to give us that order. But it's coming. Okay? What does the scripture say how we're going to march into Jerusalem? With a two-edged sword. Okay? And we're going to take their nobles in the fetters of iron. And said they're going to be bloodshed in Jerusalem in that day. Okay, go ahead, up.
And Salaki. And Pershan
Yeah.
and Delaphon and Asherthath.
And these, okay, and then when you go down to the 9th verse, these are all the different names of the people that Israel has slew. Okay? And in the 8th verse, Poratha and Adalia and Araditha. 9th verse, Parmasta. Yeah, names. And Aristai and Aridai and Bajeztha. Okay? Okay, and there's a 10th verse, the 10 sons of Haman. How about it? So Haman, all right, the Agathite, okay, it was out of one of the sons of Amalek.
Good.
Okay, a so-called Jew. Okay, so-called Jew. But of course, Edomite, being an Edomite, he's an Edomite. Okay, rose high up in the Persian Empire as captain. Come?
Good.
And here it is, the Most High had it with the 10 sons of Haman, the son of Hammedatha, the enemy of the Jews. So you break the date, right? Who's the enemy of us?
Esau.
Okay, Esau.
Amalek.
And then more specific, the Amalek, so-called Jew.
Good.
Okay? The so-called Jew. And we're going to read in the scripture where the Most High said Amalek, he's going to wipe Amalek off the face of the earth.
Good.
Right? You can read that in history. Because why? They're enemy to us. Okay? So the same thing. So the Most High turned it around where King Azarias had hung. He gave the order where King Azarias, where King Azarias had gave the order for Haman to be hung on the gallows. And then we had sought out the sons of Haman and hung them on the gallows. See, so that was the Most High. Okay? That was with us. Then it says, the enemy of the Jews slew they, but on the spoil laid they not their hand. So we didn't touch none of the spoils, especially of Haman's household. Good?
Good.
We didn't touch it. We waited for the Most High to give us the order to do what we're supposed to do. Just like today. Because the Yahushua is running this. He's running everything. So we're waiting for the order of Yahushua. That's why we not supposed to go out and slay the enemy right now. But it's coming. Okay, by the order of Yahushua, it's coming. Okay, read the 11th verse, huh?
On that day, the number of those that were slain in Shushan, the palace, was brought before the king.
Go ahead.
And the king said unto Esther, the queen, the Jews had slain and destroyed 500 men in Shushan, the palace, and the 10 sons of Haman. What have they done in the rest of the king's provinces? Now what is thy petition? And it shall be granted thee. Or what is thy request further? And it shall be done.
So now here's King Azarias. So King Azarias had now given Queen Esther her petition. He said, look, whatever you desire is going to be given to you unto the half of the kingdom. Okay? But you got to remember, Queen Esther, she fasted for 3 days. She prayed for 3 days.
Good.
Told her uncle Mordecai to get the people prepared to fast and pray for 3 days before she even went to the king. And when she went to the king, we'll read in the Apocrypha. Can you read? We're going to read that in the Apocrypha.
Good.
She went to the king, and before she went, the king was arrayed in all his apparel. And they said he looked fierce, very fierce. And she took her handmaids with her. One of her handmaids was holding her. She put on all her garments. She had a long train, okay? And one of her handmaids had to hold the train up while she walked towards the king. And then the other handmaid she had to hold on to because she was afraid and nervous. But when she faced the king, she even fainted because he looked so fierce. But the Most High had her do that, so the king would have more compassion upon her. So the Most High was doing everything. Okay? And so the king was so impressed and cared so much for the queen that when she fainted a little bit, he got up and ran to her. And it was a thing during that time when the king's virgins and his wives and his concubines, if they wanted to see the king, he had to hold the sepulchre out. Even before these are some of his wives, right? Even before they would come in and talk to him, he hold the sepulchre out, then they can come in and talk to him. But if he didn't hold the sepulchre out, they couldn't come in. But when Queen Esther fainted, he jumped up, had a sepulchre in his hand and went to her and held her up, and then touched her with the sepulchre and said, go ahead, Queen Esther, what do you want? I'll give you the half of my kingdom. See? But that was the Most High doing that. Because it was time now, the Most High was going to turn that wicked plot of Haman around.
Come.
Okay? He was going to turn it around. And it says, let's see. Right. Read, I tell you what, Yakanan, read from that first verse. The book of Esther in the Apocrypha, right?
What chapter 10?
No, 1. Read from 1.
In the
on down.
Apocrypha?
Huh?
In the Apocrypha?
Yeah.
It's just started chapter 10.
Yeah, that's what I meant. That's what I meant. Yeah, chapter 10.
The book of Esther, chapter 10. And the king Ahasuerus laid a tribute upon the land and upon the isles of the sea, and all the acts of his power and of his might, and the declaration of the greatness of Mordecai whereunto the king advanced him. Are they not written in the book of the Chronicles of the kings of Media and Persia? For Mordecai, the Jew, was next unto him, King Ahasuerus, and great among the Jews.
Okay, read from, let me see. You don't have this? Look at this here. You don't have that?
Oh, verse 5. Then Mordecai said unto Yahweh, have done these things, for I remember a dream which I saw concerning these matters.
So what chapter is that in yours right there?
It's verse 5.
Okay, so you can bring mine. So go to verse 5 then. Let's start from there.
For I remember a dream which I saw concerning these matters.
So this is Mordecai now. Okay, this is Mordecai seeing this dream concerning these matters. Okay, go ahead, Up.
And nothing thereof hath failed. A little fountain became a river, and there was light in the sun, and much water. This river is Esther, whom the king married and made queen.
So here it is. The Most High is now showing Mordecai a dream of what's going to happen. So Mordecai seen all this about to happen before it happened. Come. Go ahead, Up.
And the two dragons are I and Haman, and the nations were those that were assembled to destroy the name of the Jews.
See, same thing today, right? The nations were those that were assembled to destroy the name of the Jews. Come. So here Haman of a different nation, and you got the people of the Persian Empire also, because they were going to be in on it if it went through. And they are assembled to destroy the name of the Jews. Come. The same thing today. Okay? Just get, what is it, Psalms 83? Just real quick.
Yeah.
Psalms 83. They are assembled to destroy the name of the Jews. So it's the same thing today. And our people think that the nations are going to help them because we went through slavery. They don't care about what you went through. They don't care about you. They're still assembled to destroy you. Get Psalms 83, what is it, third verse? Yeah. Read that.
Psalms chapter 83, verse 3. They have taken crafty counsel against thy people, and consulted against thy hidden ones. They have said, come and let us cut them off from being a nation.
And this is what they say. Let us cut them off from being a nation. This is what Haman, his idea was. Come. Same thing. So what do you think the idea they have today? It's the same difference. Cutting you off from being a nation. You're cut off now from being a nation. They don't look at you as the real Jews. If you say you're a Hebrew, they'll suspend you. It's like they did Kyrie Irving. You know what I'm saying? If you say you're Shemitic, they're going to call the Jewish Defense League and bring you up on charges for saying you're Shemitic.
Kyrie said he's Muslim now.
He said he's what?
He's saying he's Muslim now.
So he went from being a Hebrew to a Muslim?
God.
It's like, no, I didn't even hear that up. Yeah. Just like all people, right? Unbelievable. They got to him. That's what that means, right? They got to him. Okay, who knows what was said in private? When they said, here, Kyrie, 6 things you got to do to come back. And you don't know what they said in private. They probably told him they'll take everything from him. So there you go. Understand? So how you going to go from being a Hebrew to a Muslim when you heard the truth? And then you're going to opt out to take on the Muslim religion? Come on, man.
I mean, Muslim is a Hebrew word anyway. It comes from the word Muslim, which means submissive unto the Most High.
Right.
So they stole it from us anyway.
Yeah, but he's taking on the religion.
Yeah, he's taking on Islam.
He's taking on Islam. Unbelievable, huh? That's amazing. But again, they're showing you that that the nations are assembled against us to destroy us. They're taking crafty counsel. Okay? So what did Haman do? It was a crafty counsel to go to King Azarias so a letter can be wrote and it's sent out to the whole 127 prophets so we could all be hung on the gallows. That's crafty counsel. Going up.
Good.
That the name of Israel may be no more
He wanted to
remembrance.
destroy us, so we won't be no more remembered. So today, are we known as the Israelites today? Are we known as Hebrews? No.
La'ah.
So our name is destroyed. So it really worked, actually. It's destroyed.
Good.
Okay? Because you don't look at yourself as the Hebrews anymore. Going up.
For they have consulted together with one consent.
There's one consent. How about that? Go on.
They are confederate against thee.
That means they coming together again. I mean, this is all nations now. And all nations are enemies amongst themselves. But when it comes to the Hebrews, the real Jews, so-called Negro, Western Asian, Puerto Rican, North American Indian, they're all confederate against us. Isn't that something? It's amazing. Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah. That's amazing, huh? Okay? When it comes to us, they can come together and discipline and everything. Understand? That's going to show you that you are the chosen of the Most High. Okay? And what level that you're on in this earth. That for all nations to come against you and confederate, they're going up.
The tabernacles of Edom.
Edom, that's Haman. That's Haman, right? Tabernacles of Edom. The Edomites, meaning all so-called whites and white folk and everything, they're Edomites. Okay? Esau's children. Edomites. Going up.
And the Ishmaelites.
Ishmael, right? How about Ishmael? The Arabs, right? Going up.
And Moab.
And Moab, the Moabites. Gone.
And the Hagarim.
And the Hagarim, like these are African nations. The sons of Ham. Gone.
Jabal. And Ammon.
Ammon. All right. The Ammonites. Gone.
And Amalek.
Amalek, so-called Jew, right? There you go. Going out. That's Haman right there. Right? All right. Going up.
The Palestines. With the inhabitants.
Philistines. Hamites. Gone.
With the inhabitants of Tyre.
Okay, so you got all these nations that are there, right? That are coming against us, and so as a confederate. All right, this is what the Most High is saying. So now you go back, Yakanan.
Yeah.
What's that? What'd you leave off? 9th verse?
7.
7.
And 8 Slakia. And the nations were those that were assembled to destroy the name of the Jews. And my nation is this, Yasharallah, which cried to Yahweh and were saved. For Yahweh have saved his people, and Yahweh have delivered us from all those evils, and Yahweh have wrought signs and great wonders, which have not been done among the Gentiles.
Right, see that? So this is during the Purim. This is what Mordecai has seen in the vision. Right? And of course, after it had happened, Mordecai, the vision was confirmed from the Most High. Once it all happened, this is what Mordecai is saying. And my nation is this. Israel is my nation. Right? We cried to the Most High. We're supposed to do as a nation. Right? Pray unto the Most High, and we're saved. Right? Now, get Matthew 1:21. And we're saved. See? For Yahweh have saved his people.
Good.
Right? His is a possessive pronoun. His people, meaning not everybody. That's what that means. Not everybody. Now read that. Matthew 1:21.
Matthew chapter 1 verse 21. And she shall bring forth a son, and thou shalt call his name Jesus.
Okay, and Jesus, we don't want to say Jesus, but we're talking about Yahushua. That's what we call his name, Yahushua. What's Yahushua mean? Savior.
Yahweh delivers.
Yeah, Yahweh delivers, Savior. And we say Mashiach Yahushua, the anointed Savior. Come?
Come.
The anointed Savior. So, just like Mordecai said, and were saved. He said, Israel, which cried to the Most High, and were saved. Yahushua, the Savior. Okay, going up.
For he shall save his people.
He shall do what?
And he shall save his people.
He shall do what?
And he shall save his people.
His people. So what did Mordecai say? And were saved for Yahushua, for Yahweh has saved his people. Come?
Come.
So we're reading that as Esther in the Apocrypha. That's the, what is that, the 5th chapter? Well, here it says the 10th chapter and the 9th verse.
Come.
Okay, that's what it says here. It's the book of Esther, which are found. It says the rest of the chapters of Esther, the book of Esther. It starts off in the 10th chapter in the Apocrypha, and this is the 9th verse.
Come.
He shall save his people.
And my nation is this, Yasher Allah, which cried to Yahweh and were saved. For Yahweh has saved his people. And Yahweh hath delivered us from all those evils. And Yahweh hath wrought signs and great wonders, which have not been done among the Gentiles.
Yeah, how about that? So it hasn't been done among the Gentiles. So the same thing today, the Most High is going to deliver Israel with a great deliverance.
Could.
Okay. Before America is destroyed. And it has not been so done amongst the Gentiles. Okay? Because they're not the chosen. Okay? Go ahead, Yachanan.
Verse 10. Therefore hath he made 2 lots, one for the people of Yahweh, and another for all the Gentiles.
How about that? There's 2 lots the Most High made. In other words, a lot meaning what the Most High had created in the earth. There's 2 sets of people, right? They're the Gentiles, and they're the Most High's chosen. Come? He made 2 lots. And that's true. The Most High created everybody. And he said, in the scriptures, even say from one blood he created everybody. Come? And this is where the Christian folk think everybody's the same. We all come out of one blood. Everybody's not the same. We're talking about spiritually, we're not the same. Yeah, everybody has 2 arms, 2 legs, 2 eyes, all that as a body. Okay? You have a human flesh. But we're talking about now spiritually, we're not all the same. And nationalistically, we're not all the same. And culturally, we're not all the same. Come? So, we're not all equal. That's what that means. Because the Most High said, I chose 2 lots. One for the people, okay, and another for all the Gentiles. The one for the people means his chosen people. Okay? Get me Deuteronomy 7 and 6. But hold that. And then another for the Gentiles. Okay, go ahead, Yachanan, read that.
We want to read
11th verse.
11, the book of Esther, chapter 10, verse 11. And these 2 lots came at the hour and time and day of judgment before Yahweh among all nations.
How about the same thing will happen today? So the Most High is going to look down upon the earth and say, where am I chosen? Okay? He's going to look at the Gentiles. And the Most High said, what? That Israel, he said, the least shall not fall to the ground of Israel. So he's going to look at where all our people at and disperse like the earth. And the Most High is going to begin to pluck up his chosen. See? Because there's 2 lots. There's Gentiles, and then there's the chosen. And so we're the Most High's chosen now, dispersed amongst all the nations. The Most High is going to look amongst all the nations, and we're my people. He's going to start to deliver his people. Boom. That's one. Oh, there's one over there. That's another one. Oh, there's one way over there. That's another one. See? And then, so what about the Gentiles? They're not going to be saved. Okay? They're not going to be saved. The salvation is only for the nation of Israel. Okay? We're going to show you that. All right? Did you get Deuteronomy 7 and 6? Read that right quick.
Deuteronomy chapter 7 and verse 6. For thou art an holy people unto the Lord thy God.
See, we're holy. We're the true people of the Most High. Go ahead.
The Lord thy God hath chosen thee.
See, the Most High chose us because he wanted to choose a nation. He wanted to choose a nation that was going to serve him. So that was the Most High, what he wanted to do. He created all nations, but he chose only one to serve him. Go ahead, up.
To be a special people.
To be what?
A special people.
See, special. We're special. We're not looked upon as special now, so the Most High turned it around because of our sins. Now we're low and degraded. We're degraded people. But now the Most High said, but actually we're a special people. But we got to return back to the Most High in righteousness. Going up.
Unto himself.
See? Most High said, unto himself. So when you make something special unto himself, that means you got other things that are not as special.
Okay.
Except for the one thing that you preserve to yourself to make it over the other things that you made or that you have in possession. Yeah.
I got 2 precepts.
Okay, let me finish that one and you read that.
Yeah, go ahead.
Above all
what? You're what?
Above all people.
We're what?
Above all people.
We're equal to everybody?
Above
all people.
We're the same as everybody.
Above all people.
We're above everybody. See? So the Most High was showing our people that even during the captivity under the Persian rule under King Ahasuerus, under that wicked plot of Haman, that we are above everybody. The Most High chose his lot, chose the one he wanted, and preserved us. So that's what Purim was about. Go ahead, up.
that are upon the face of the earth.
Everybody, the Most High chose us above all nations upon the face of the planet Earth. So how come the Christians don't read that scripture? Because then they would have to explain that. Which means they would have to explain how could the Most High choose a nation over another nation when the Christians been teaching for years that everybody's equal. See? So that's why they don't read that scripture. Okay, go ahead, y'all can.
This is the book of 2nd Ezra, chapter 6, verse 54. And after these Adam also, whom thou madest Lord of all thy creatures, of him come we all.
We come out from everybody. The Most High said we come from Adam, from him come we all. Everybody came, all nations, right? Going up.
And the people also whom thou hast chosen.
See? Go on.
All this have I spoken before thee, O Yahweh, because thou madest the world for our sakes.
So he made the world for Israel's sake. See, from Adam come we all. But also the people the Most High chose. See, that's Deuteronomy 76, what he just wrote. He had chose. So everybody come from, of course, going way back to Adam. Of course, after Adam, then we had the flood, but then Noah, okay, brought forth all the nations. But he chose only one seed, only one people. Going up.
As for the other people, which also come of Adam.
See, that's the two lots, right? The Gentiles is the other lot. So as for the other people, go ahead up.
As for the other people, which also come from Adam, thou hast said that they are nothing.
What are they?
They are nothing.
They're equal?
They are nothing.
They're somebody?
They are nothing.
They're nobody. Go on.
But be like unto spittle.
What are they? Spit. That's what they are. Go on.
And has likened the abundance of them unto a drop that falleth from a vessel.
Wow, the Most High said, I created all nations, but I don't even regard you. See, I created you, but I don't even regard you as anything. How about that, huh? You're nothing but spit to me. This is what the Most High is saying to all the other nations. You're nothing but spit to me. And that's what the Most High was showing during this time of the Persian rule. And we were under the 127 provinces under King Ahasuerus. The Most High was showing, and then Haman had that wicked plot. The Most High was showing, Haman, you're nothing but spit to me.
Come.
That's what he was showing. You're nothing but spit. These are my people. I'm going to save them, but I'm going to destroy you. Okay? So the same thing's going to happen today.
Come.
Okay? The nations are going to, and it's coming. And Esau know it's coming. White man know, he know it's coming. He's nothing but spit to the Most High. Okay? Okay, and then when you go back, you got two? You have one more? Go ahead, read. Tell them where you at.
The book of Deuteronomy, chapter 14, verse 2. For thou art an holy people unto the Lord thy God, and the Lord hath chosen thee to be a
Peculiar
people unto himself above all the nations that are upon the earth.
Yeah, so he chose Israel to be a peculiar people above all the nations. What was that scripture that tell me? Read it again.
Deuteronomy chapter 14, verse 2.
Okay. Now read it one more time, clearly.
For thou art a holy people unto the Lord thy God, and the Lord has chosen thee to be a peculiar people,
A peculiar people. Go on.
unto himself above all the nations that are upon the earth.
Okay, so above all the nations. So we are peculiar people above all the nations. See, so I'm showing you again, the nations are nothing to the Most High, right?
Come.
So now, y'all can go back to the in the Apocrypha, Esther 10, 10, 11, right?
12.
Okay, you read, okay. Start from 11, and then go
Okay.
to 12, yeah.
The book of Esther, chapter 10, verse 11. And these two lots came at the hour and time and day of judgment before Yahweh among all nations. So Yahweh remembered his people and justified his inheritance.
Wow, now the Most High is using the word inheritance. Okay? Who did the Most High inherit as his chosen people? So now, we got to get Jeremiah 10:16. You get Deuteronomy, Elijah 32 and 9. Who is the Most High's inheritance? Just in case you didn't understand Deuteronomy 7 and 6. Okay? Just in case you don't understand that. And the one he read out the Apocrypha. Okay? So now the Most High has chosen, remember, the two lots the Most High said he had created in the earth. One is his chosen, and the other lot was for the Gentiles. Okay? And now it's going to show you, it says now use the word inheritance. What's inheritance? Inheritance means everything that the Most High possessed. And everything that you possess. Okay? So, who did the Most High inherit? Okay, in the earth. The Most High created heaven and earth, created all nations of people in the earth. But who did the Most High inherit? Okay, go ahead, Jeremiah 10:16.
The book of Jeremiah, chapter 10, verse 16. The portion of Jacob is not like them.
Jacob is not like the other nations. Jacob, meaning the 12 tribes of Israel. All right, the Hebrews were not like the other nations. Going up.
The portion of Jacob is not like them, for he is the former of all things.
So we're the former of everything. Everybody came out of us. Okay? All the knowledge, wisdom, the science, and everything came out of us. By the Most High in Yahushua came out of us. Everything came out of us. All the technology, everything came out of us. Out of Israel. Everything. Going up.
And Yasharallah is the rod of his inheritance.
See, and Yasharallah, meaning Israel, right, is the rod of the Most High's inheritance. Because it used the word inheritance, right? In Esther 10, in the Apocrypha, Esther 10 and 12, used the word inheritance, okay? Justified his inheritance. So it said in Jeremiah 10:16, Israel is the rod of the Most High's inheritance.
Come.
Not all the nations. The nations can forget about it, okay? The nations, if the nations are going to be blessed, they got to come and recognize Israel as the Hebrews. And recognize us as the Most High's chosen. Okay? Deuteronomy 32 and 9. Huh?
Deuteronomy chapter 32, verse 9. For the Lord's portion is his people.
See, the Lord's portion is his people. Again, the possessive pronoun his. That means the Most High owns something. Something is his. What is it that's his? He said his people. Who's his people? Now you got to find out who's his people. And that's the key. And that's the problem about the earth. Everybody thinks they're the Most High's people. Well, not everybody's the Most High's people. Then choose everybody.
Come.
Okay, going on.
Jacob is the lot of his inheritance.
There it goes again. Well, it's all over the scriptures. Jacob is the lot of the Most High's inheritance. How about that? Jacob is the lot, okay, the Most High's inheritance. So that word inheritance again. So you got to write these scriptures down. And then you can prove to anybody who is contrary to what the scriptures are saying, you can prove to them this is what the Most High is saying.
Come.
Okay? Go ahead, finish that now. Back to the Apocrypha, Esther 10 and 13.
The book of Esther, chapter 10, verse 13. Therefore those days shall be unto them in the month Adar, the 14th and 15th day of the same month, with an assembly and joy, and with gladness before Yahweh, according to the generations forever.
For what?
Forever.
Forever. See, so we're celebrating Purim. Okay, and according to the generations, and a high holy day forever now. Was that it?
Forever among his people.
Okay, yeah, and among his people. See, you got the word his again. Okay, the possessive pronoun. Okay, so in the month Adar, the 14th and the 15th day of the same month, with an assembly and joy and with gladness before the Most High, according to the generations, forever amongst his people. So this is why we celebrate the high holy day. And this was the high holy day that Israel gave to the Most High. There were 2 high holy days to the Most High, and there were a couple more that we gave to the Most High. Even the day of Nicanor, we gave to the Most High. But the 7 initial high holy days, you read in Leviticus 23rd chapter, that's what the Most High gave to Israel and told Israel, keep these a high holy day and a ceremonial law. But when Hanukkah came and the Purim, the day of Nicanor, we gave those days to the Most High. But we decreed those days are going to be like high holy days forever. Okay? And so they are. So that's our custom. That's our culture. It's not Christmas. It's not your culture. Halloween, Easter coming up, and that ain't your culture. Purim is your culture. Good. So that's what we. And also, we're able to give. If you want to give presents and all that, right? Gifts. You can give gifts. So that's why we go back to Esther 9 in the Bible. Okay. Esther 9 in the Bible, and we go back to the 13th verse. Esther 9:13. Okay? So I'll start to read while you get it. It says this. Then said Esther, if it please the king, let it be granted to the Jews which are in Shushan to do tomorrow also according unto this day's decree. And let Haman's 10 sons be hanged upon the gallows. See? So the Most High had it where now Haman was hanged upon the gallows and Haman's 10 sons, meaning he had nobody left. His whole seed was hanged upon the gallows. His whole family hanged upon the gallows. How about that? So the Most High turned that thing around. Right? So the Most High can do that. He can do that if he want to do that. Most High showed favor. Okay? He showed favor upon Israel. Okay? Then it says, the 14th verse, and the king commanded it so to be done. So the Most High had the king Ahasuerus, the Persian king now, commanded that it be done. Okay? Because Haman had did it deceitfully. And so had brought up the wrath of the king against him because he did it deceitfully. Okay? And so the Most High had it with the Queen Esther went to King Ahasuerus and, conveyed what she wanted. But that was the Most High. But you got to remember, remember, she is queen over 127 provinces. More than the 50 states of America. So that was a big empire. The Persian Empire was a big empire. And so the king had said, look, Queen Esther, I'll give you half of the kingdom. Whatever you want, to the half of the kingdom. So that was the spirit of the Most High. Though. But remember, she prayed to the Most High. She got Mordecai to pray and to fast for 3 days. So this is what we got to do. We got to do that even today as a nation. Okay. Then it says, and they hanged Haman's 10 sons. For the Jews that were in Shushan gathered themselves together on the 14th day also of the month Adar, the 12th month. Okay, with the Most High, the 12th month. So the last month of the year with the Most High, okay? And slew 300 men at Shushan, but on the prey they held laid not their hands. So they laid not their hands on the spoils. Come.
Come.
They didn't take none of the spoils yet. Okay? But the spoils are coming to them, but they chose to refrain from taking the spoils right away. Okay? Let the Most High give you the spoils in due time. And it's going to happen. Okay? 16th verse. But the other Jews that were in the king's provinces gathered themselves together and stood for their lives and had rest from their enemies and slew of their foes 70 and 5,000 people. In 127 provinces. That's like us today. We gather ourselves together, and in every city, in every state, all the ones that are enemies against us, we slay them. Not that we're going to do that today yet, but you know, you got to give a good picture of what they did back then. And this is what they did. So imagine the Most High giving us that spirit today. Say, look, in every city and state, you slay your enemies. Well, that's what we did. But we were together. We were as one. So just because we're in all the cities and states, that don't mean we can't be one. That don't mean we can't come together in unity. They did it back then in the Persian Empire. Come. So we can do it. 75,000. But they laid not their hands on the prey. Meaning they didn't take none of the spoils yet, right? The 17th verse. On the 13th day of the month Adar, on the 14th day of the month of the same, rested they, and they made it a day of feasting and gladness. See? Purim. Made it a day of feasting and gladness. So on this high holy day, it's a day of feasting and gladness, okay? And the Jews that were at Shushan assembled together on the 13th day thereof, and on the 14th day thereof, and on the 15th day the same, they rested, and made it a day of feasting and gladness. So it's a feast day. But even though the first day is we make it a Sabbath day, right? The first day, still a feast day, but a Sabbath. Come. Therefore, the Jews of the villages that dwelt in the unwalled towns made the 14th day the month Adar, and a day of gladness and feasting, and a good day of sending portions to one another. See? So you can send gifts to one another. So some of you say you can't live without Christmas. So Purim has a type of giving gifts, right? It's a type of high holy day where you can give gifts to one another. So you don't have to celebrate Christmas. You do the same thing, just do it when Purim comes. Purim comes in the 12th month, the actual 12th month, the real 12th month, not the fake 12th month, December. December is the fake 12th month. But if we do it, we can send gifts to one another on Purim, the actual 12th month of Mosai. Okay? Then it says, sending portion to one another, the 20th verse. And Mordecai wrote these things and sent letters unto all the Jews, right? That's like sending a letter to all our people in the 50 states, in all the cities in America. Same difference. That were in all the provinces of the king Ahasuerus, both nigh and far. How about that? Okay? 21st verse. To establish this among them, that they should keep the 14th day, the month of Adar, and the 15th day of the same year. See? So now Purim is being established as a high holy day because of the deliverance of the Most High and Yahushua from the wicked plot of Haman. Okay? As the days wherein the Jews rested from their enemies, and the month which was turned unto them from sorrow to joy. Okay? And from mourning into a good day, that they should make them days of feasting and joy, and of sending portions one to another, and gifts to the poor. So send your gifts. So on this Purim, which is actually the 6th, March 6th, okay, the first day, you can send gifts to one another. Right? You can do that. Okay? But not on Christmas. Forget Christmas. That's a pagan, an abomination of a holiday. Come.
Come.
It's the worship of Tammuz.
Come.
And Nimrod, son Tammuz. Okay? The Antichrist.
Come.
Satan. Come. So forget that day. But you can do it on Purim. And the Jews undertook to do as they had begun, and as Mordecai had written unto them. Because Haman, the son of Hammedatha, the Agagite, okay, and look up Haman, the Agagites. They are Edomites. Come. They are Edomites. Okay, Amalek to be more specific. Okay, come. The enemy of all the Jews. So who is your real enemy today? the one who stole your nationality. Okay, all of them are your enemies, but the primary ones are the so-called Jew. Okay, Amalek. The
Synagogue of Satan.
Yeah, synagogue of Satan. They're the real enemies. Because any man that steals another man's nationality, right? That's your total enemy.
Come.
And they're going to fool you and deceive you and make you think you're somebody else. Okay, who steals another man's nationality? Goodness gracious. What's wrong with your own nationality? Okay? They don't want to play who they are. The devil, they don't want to be who they are. So they're going to take your nationality.
Come.
Okay, come. And then make you think you're Africans, make you think you're Christians, make you think you're Americans. You're none of those things. Okay? And, okay, then it says, had devised against the Jews to destroy them, and had cast pur. That is, locked. That's what pur means, locked. To consume them and to destroy them, meaning to hang them on the gallows. I think these gallows were like, what, 50 feet to 100 feet high? To hang all the Jews. So it's like a plot being set up today to hang you again today. Again, you had that in Mississippi, they're trying to pass a law to bring lynching back. So think about it. And they still lynch Negroes today.
Come.
It's still going on. You just don't hear about it. It's going on, though.
Come, they just recently did it here in Delaware. The brother Irritated Genie covered it on a show called War on the Horizon, the Delaware lynchings that happened downstate, and they was lynching people.
Yeah. So it's still happening. Okay. Get that book called Without Sanctuary. Look up that book. It's called Without Sanctuary. That book can make you cry. The type of lynching, it's a pictorial book. And that pictorial book, it shows you all people being hung and lynched and everything. And the black man and the black woman, they hung the black woman too.
Cool.
And then they give the pictorial history, but then they write down some of the elaborate circumstances that went behind the lynching. And it don't make you cry. You won't even get page past 10 before you start crying and say, wow, this happened to our people. Esau is sadistic, man. You have all his whole family, they come to what they call a picnic and all that, and they have a Negro lynched.
Cool.
And it was a main thing. It was like a barbecue. It was
it was a picnic, pick a nigga.
Yeah, pick a nigga. Yeah. And it was a big event. And they got what they call those cards. Postcards, right. They got these postcards now, and they got it some of them preserved. Where they've got postcards giving the date and everything of where they're going to hang a Negro, and they'll send it all out to the whole community. It's postcards.
Cool.
Giving the date and everything, they're going to hang a Negro.
They said they did that with Nat Turner. They hung him. They skinned him and made like Negro skin coats.
Yeah.
They turned his fat down to like wagon grease.
Wagon grease, right.
And they ground up his bones and everything.
Ground his bones.
Yeah.
And sometimes it was either burning or hanging. Sometimes they burn you alive. But I mean, in that book Without Sanctuary, they give the detail and what everything they did, and even what the brother who was being burned, what he said as he was being burned. I mean, it was like you cried. You just start crying.
Uncut.
Yeah, it was uncut. So you got to get that book Without Sanctuary. I think John Lewis was one of the authors. Remember he was one of the congressman of Baltimore. Was it John Lewis, right? The one that passed away.
I believe so.
Yeah, he's one of the authors of that book, and I think he got some other Edomites authors also. But he was one of the authors of it. But yeah, it'll make you cry. So then it says Esther, and we're in 9 and 26. Wherefore they call these days Purim after the name of Per. Therefore, for all the words of this letter, and of that which they had seen concerning this matter, and which had come unto them, the Jews ordained and took upon them, and upon their seed, and upon all such as joined themselves unto them, so as it should not fail that they would keep these 2 days according to their writing, and according to their appointed time every year. See, Purim, right? And that these days should be remembered and kept throughout every generation. See, every family, every province, and every city, we're still supposed to keep the high holy day, right?
Yeah.
And that these days of Purim should not fail from among the Jews, nor the memorial of them perish from their seed. So you're supposed to keep it from year to year, just like all the other high holy days.
Come on.
Okay.
Elder, if I may, like you got Israelites, they teaching that you shouldn't keep any of these holy days because we're not in Jerusalem. But see, all these prophecies, they were all throughout the Persian
There you
Empire.
go.
And then Xerxes, who was a Ahasuerus, he gave a decree after Esther and Haman had saved his life
Right.
that these days of Purim should be kept
Yes.
unto the Most High Yahweh. And
Right.
this was a tradition of the Israelites that we should
Exactly.
keep it no matter where
No
we
matter
were.
where you
And
were.
this was not in
You
Jerusalem.
gonna say it again? Where were
They were throughout the whole Persian Empire.
we? We weren't even in Jerusalem.
No,
And we still kept it.
that's right. And the Persian Empire, it went through throughout the Caspian Sea,
Right.
throughout
India,
Mediterranean,
from
India,
Ethiopia.
yep, everywhere.
From Ethiopia
Babylon,
to India.
everywhere.
127 provinces. And we kept the high holy days.
Yep, it even extended to some parts of Greece. The only people
Right.
that fended him off was the 300 Spartans. They were the only people to fend off the Persian Empire.
Exactly.
That was the only people that was not conquered, which were our relatives too at the same time too.
They were Israelites.
Yeah, the Lacedaemonians.
Right. And right, correct. Get Acts 5 and 30 out. And y'all can get this last one, Leviticus 20:26. So that's what we have to do. So for the congregation, just read. You can read that whole, of course, the book of Esther. You're reading about the establishing of Purim and how it came about. But also, you get yourself the Apocrypha, and you read the book of Esther and the Apocrypha. And it starts from chapter 10. That's where it starts from. And you read, of course, the rest of the establishment and what the Most High teaches about Purim. Okay? Elijah, get that. Acts 5 and 30.
Acts chapter 5 verse 30. The God of our fathers raised up Yahushua, who they slew and hanged on a tree.
Good.
Him hath Yahweh
Yeah, go ahead.
exalted with his right
Say the
hand
Most High exalted Yahushua with his right hand. Go on.
to be a prince and a
To
savior,
be a prince and a savior. Go on.
for to give repentance to Israel and forgiveness of sins.
Right. See, forgiveness of sin. So remember, we read Matthew 1:21. So he's going to save his people from their sins. So it's only Israel, the Most High, is given salvation and forgiveness of sins.
Good.
Not the other nations. So what, the other nations don't get forgiveness? No. No, they don't get it. They don't get forgiveness. The Most High is only giving forgiveness to the nation that he chose. He's forgiven their sins. Yahushua came and died for the nation of Israel and gave grace to the nation of Israel for their sins. Understand? So the nation that has sinned against the Most High, who is that? That's the nation of Israel.
That's right.
The other nations didn't sin against the Most High. They're just the Gentiles. Yeah, they just do wickedness and evil by nature.
Good.
But the nations that sinned, meaning the nation the Most High gave his commandments to, and then they broke the commandment. That's what we did as a nation. That's sin. So he's only giving grace to the ones that have sinned against him. That's only the nation of Israel.
Good.
The other nations didn't sin against the Most High because they weren't given the commandments. Come?
Good.
And then Leviticus 20:26.
The book of Leviticus chapter 20:26. And ye shall be holy unto me. For I, Yahweh, am holy, and have severed you from other people, that ye should be mine.
Yeah, and read 25.
24.
24.
But I have said unto you, ye shall inherit their land, and I will give it unto you to possess it.
Yeah, how about that? So now the land, which we know is Mount Zion, Israel, Jerusalem, right? That's the land. Who was in that land before we got there, right? Right? The Canaanites, other nations, right?
Good.
Moses said, I'm going to take it from them and give it to you. How about that? Most are going to do the same thing today. So you got the so-called Israelis over there, the fake Jews, right, over there. Moses said, I'm going to take it from them and give it back to you. See? That's what's going to happen. It happened back then. It's going to happen again today. Going up.
A land that floweth with milk and honey. I am Yahweh thy power, which have separated you from other people.
See, the Most High said, I separated you from other people. So what happened during the time of the Persian Empire under King Ahasuerus? The Most High separated us. He showed us favor, turned that wicked plot of Haman around, and where now the Most High, where that wicked plot was to hang us in the gallows, Most High turned it around, showed favor to Israel, and had Haman and his son hung in the gallows. The Most High is going to do the same thing today. Esau is going into captivity. Other nations are going into captivity. Most High going to turn it back around. Going up.
Ye shall therefore put difference between clean beasts and unclean, and between unclean fowls and clean. And ye shall not make your souls abominable by beast or by fowl.
See? So now we're supposed to keep the dietary law. Right, come?
Come.
Again, rehearse the righteous acts, right?
Come.
So make the difference between what is clean and what is unclean.
Come.
Shellfish is unclean.
That's right.
Lobster, crab, shrimp, clams.
Catfish.
What else? Catfish. What else? You know what I mean?
Swordfish, shark.
Swordfish, shark. You can go on and on and on. And the Most High teaches you what is unclean and what is clean in the Bible. See? But, Christians, they don't want to hear that because they think that you can eat anything the Most High still with them. No, the Most High, that's why you're sick. You're sick because you're eating all the filthy food.
Good.
All the filthy stuff out there. Pig. Unclean. It's unclean by nature. You can't clean it. Don't tell me you can clean it and Esau found a way to clean it. You can't clean it. It's a pig. It was made to eat filth anyway. It was made that way. That's why it has what? How many stomachs it has? Okay? But it's made to eat filth. That's why it has maggots and all that stuff in it. It's filthy. You can't clean that stuff. That's why you're sick. Understand? So show the difference. Also, what other foods? The fish, certain animals.
Rodents.
Rabbit,
Muskrat.
candy, right? Muskrat, possums, all that stuff. How people like eating all that stuff. Alligator. How people eat all that crap?
What make you want to take a possum and put that in the pot and make some gumbo? I never understood that.
One of the ugliest animals on earth.
What makes you want to do that, man?
The ugliest animal, you want to eat it. Because you think it's a delicacy.
And make abominable broth.
Yeah. Okay? So, all that stuff. Show the difference. And most I tell you what to eat. You can eat certain cattle. But even not all cattle you can eat. Okay? You got to part of the hoof. Split of the hoof.
Cool.
And cloven footed. And chew the
cud. Yep.
See? So again, keeping the commandments. Go ahead, Art. Yeah, go ahead, finish that.
And ye shall be holy unto me, for I am Yahweh, am holy, and have severed you from other people, that ye should be mine.
Right, that we should be mine. See, there it goes. The Most High showed that during the time of the Persian Empire and the King Ahasuerus, with Queen Esther and Mordecai, he severed us, showed a difference. That's why if you can get Exodus 11 and 7, showed a difference who his chosen people were. Okay? And remember, the Most High allowed Israel to kill 75,000 people. Okay? Remember, there's no redemption without bloodshed. So, we ask the Most High to receive us, to save us from the wicked plot of Haman. But you got to remember, there's no redemption without bloodshed. Somebody's going to be destroyed. Somebody's going to be put to death. So that's what the Most High showed us. So today, what do you think is going to happen? See? And this time, everybody in America is going to be put to death.
Come.
Except for the remnant of the Most High of us that He chose to come out.
That's right.
See? That's the no redemption without bloodshed right there. Somebody going to be put to death. And how many millions of people in America? They say 300 million now? 300 million people are going to be put to death here in America. What the scriptures teach us.
Come.
Okay, go ahead, Al.
The book of Exodus, chapter 11, verse 7. But against any of the children of Israel
Against any of the children of Israel, Exodus 11:7. Go ahead.
shall not a dog move his tongue against man or beast,
Go ahead.
that ye may know how that the Lord doth but a difference.
Then the Lord does put a difference. See? The Most High puts a difference. See, the word difference. It means what? Separate. Or something is not the same as another thing. Come? Something is not the same as another thing. So the Most High is saying, well, my people are different. Remember with the scripture, my people are peculiar.
Come.
My people are not the same. They're above all nations.
Come.
Come? So he put a difference going up.
The Lord does put a difference between the Egyptians and Israel.
He put a difference between the Egyptians and Israel. So the Most High showed more favor to Israel than the Egyptians. Well, I thought the Most High was for everybody. Okay?
Come.
I thought it was for everybody. And I said, no, I'm putting a difference. Same thing, he's going to bring them to date. The modern day Egypt is America. The Most High is going to show the same difference.
Come.
Same thing. Just bring it to date, that's all. And he's going to show favor to Israel. Okay? So he's going to put that difference back in there. So that's why the Most High says, separate. Don't become unequally yoked. Forget about America. It's finished.
Come.
It's fallen. It's a done deal. That's why the Most High is showing you, look at Joe Biden. You don't know his head from a hole in the ground. He can't even talk straight. Even the other Edomites are saying that. They say he's a disgrace. He's an embarrassment to America. He is. But the Most High got them having Joe Biden up there showing you this is what America has come to. That's the Most High doing that. Man don't know his head from a hole. He can't even, he walks in circles. Don't know where he's going. Don't know what he's doing. That's your president? See? So that's why America, but the Most High don't doing that to show you America's on its way down. Okay, America got to go abroad now and beg the other nations to help them. Biden went over there, Saudi Arabia, was begging Saudi Arabia. Begging to produce more oil and help America with more oil. Begging them.
I got a precept, Elder.
They're coming down, going up.
This is the book of Obadiah, verse 8. Shall I not in the day, saith Yahweh, even destroy the wise men out of Edom, and understanding out of the mount of Esau?
Yeah, see, the wise men and understanding. They have no understanding what they're going to do. Okay? But we know the elite got something in mind. We know what the elite has, right? Okay? They want their global new world order. They want their globalism. But at the same time, the Most High is bringing America down.
Could.
At the same time, the elite thinking, okay, they're going into their global new world order and they're going to continue to rule. No, it's over. It's over for them. For the elite, it's over. But things got to be fulfilled in prophecy. Okay? So that's why the time of the tribulation period, Jacob's trouble, the unveiling of who the Antichrist is, who the false prophet is, all that is coming. Okay? And so there's going to be a lot of death, destruction, and bloodshed throughout the whole earth, okay, in America, everywhere. It's coming. Okay? That's why now you got, look what America has done. They had a chemical spill in Ohio, chemical spill in the South, chemical spill in Texas, chemical spill in the East, in the West. See?
And so they even have one in Indonesia too, right?
In Indonesia. So now, of course, all these chemicals in the air now, being absorbed into the water, being absorbed into the ground. The people in Ohio are saying that their eyes are all messed up, their throat is messed up, their skin is all messed up. They can't live in that community, whatever that community, what was the name of it? I forgot what was the name of it. where the oil, the chemical spill was.
On the train.
Yeah, in that train. And now all that is going into the Mississippi River. So all that's done by design. Okay? So the ones that they can get the solution, and you had the coronavirus, right?
They said it was.
And so now they're going to get you through that. Okay? One way or the other, they're going to try to get you, but it's coming.
Good.
And look, and the tribulation period hasn't even started yet. And all these things are happening. You know?
They said they made a movie about it before it happened.
Before it happened. Yeah, they did make a movie about it. Yeah. I forgot what it was called. Remember what it was called? I forgot what it was called, but they made a movie about it before it even happened. So you know how they do. Okay? They always tell you what they're going to do before it happens. Okay? So all these things are happening, and all this saber rattling you hear about. Russia got their nuclear subs off the east coast of America, off the west coast, and China got spy balloons and all that. Okay, but the Most High did say it's going to be wars and rumors of wars. Okay, you got the war in Ukraine, but you know that's a proxy war.
Good.
That's America and NATO. That's not Ukraine. Ukraine can't beat Russia.
Not
Okay,
at
a
all.
war. And then the real truth is, many Ukrainians are dead, and Russia is pretty much, they got the whole country. Russia pretty much won the war. Because Russia's saying, no, NATO, you're not coming over here. You're not coming over here. You're not going to put nuclear bombs over here. So America, forget it.
Good.
That's what Putin was saying. Because he knows what America's up to. Okay, so it's a proxy war.
Good.
You know what I'm saying? This man, this comedian, what's his name, Zelensky, what's he know about running a country? He's a comedian, an actor. And of course, America set him up and prompted him up.
They said they even got the, what's them two boxers? The two Klitschko brothers is like leading the army.
Leading the army. Two boxers, right? Leading the military. Of the Ukrainian military. How about that? You know what I'm saying? So, America's finished. But they can send damn near, $100 billion over there, but can't help nobody out over here in America. When you got homeless people all throughout the streets of America. Right? And people are dying of hunger and everything all throughout the streets. This is what the politicians are saying.
They said that they're trying to take it because it's like the stronghold of the Khazarian Empire.
Yeah.
Ukraine.
Okay? But these things are supposed to happen, right? Wars and rumors of wars. Okay, this is what the Most High says is going to happen. Okay? So, with that, I want to say all praises to Yahweh Ba'Shem, Mashiach Yahweh Shai. Y'all can want to come up and, all right? That's the Sabbath service.
We're pretty much, if possible, like you to join us here at 19 Lamson Lane in Newcastle, Delaware, at Rose Hill Community Center at classroom 110B. We have class from 11:30 to 3 p.m. And you can join us for fellowship. If you would like, you can make free will offerings and donations at Hebrew Chosen Elect at Cash App, hashtag Hebrew Chosen Elect. Also, we have an upcoming summit. We will give you the details later. The 19th annual Hebrew Summit will be taking place here in Newcastle County, Delaware, in Wilmington. So we will let you know as we further progress and we get more information. We'll let you know when it will be and where it will be. Okay? And you can find all of our videos at HCE Reloaded or Hebrew Chosen Elect 2. Unfortunately, our initial channel has been taken down, but you can also see our previous videos at Mikael 7 on YouTube as well. And with that, we say shalom. Kwam Yisrael. Kwam Yisrael. Kwam Yisrael. Ba'Shem Yahushua.